Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Goldilocks Global Banking News. Folks, today, Goldilocks is bringing you more information related to Vietnam and the strengthening of the Vietnamese dong. And I want you to pay extra attention in the next day or so, when Goldilocks shares more information coming out from Vietnam related to Vietnamese dong. But for now, let's jump right into what Goldilocks is sharing today. Goldilocks is stating, for Vietnam to achieve an upgrade from its current market status, called a frontier market status, Vietnam has been implementing significant reforms to its stock market trading mechanisms. Think of global digital highways that is in a cloud on the internet. And Vietnam has upgraded their stock market in order for any country from around the world to access their stock markets, in Vietnam being able to access theirs. What does this do to the Vietnamese dong? Helps to create value, because these countries from around the world for the first time will be able to access Vietnam's stock market. And Vietnam will be available to the global international financial markets. These changes address criteria set by the FTSE Russell and the MSCI. So think of, in order for Vietnam to qualify for an emerging market status by the FTSE Russell in September, I'm gonna use this analogy, but it's to a certain extent is spot on, but it's not. But follow me. If you ever took a test in school and it's your teacher told you it was an open book test, that means you're prepared. You know what the questions are going to be. You know what the material is. You should have no problem passing if you do just a little bit of studying. The FTSE Russell tested Vietnam, but it's an open book test. An open book test, how to qualify to upgrade for their economy to be upgraded. Over the last 3 or 4 years, Vietnam has been trying to get an upgrade by the FTSE Russell, their stock market, to be classified as an emerging market economy. But Vietnam continued to fail. I shouldn't say fail. I would say more so they tried to ask the teacher to just let them pass. Not do the work the homework, not to do any studying. Oh, teacher, just here's an apple. Just let me pass the class and upgrade me to a passing grade. That's what Vietnam tried to do with the FTSE Russell for the last several years. But no. FTSE Russell said, no. It's not going to work, Vietnam. You must implement these reforms. Vietnam has been doing that more so aggressively within the last 6 to 8 months. See, a part of that open book test was Vietnam had to modernize their stock market. So what did they do? Went live with the KRX, which is called the Korea Exchange System, to modernize their trading infrastructure in Vietnam. Went live on May the 5th of this year. This will provide T+0, meaning instant settlements, instant transactions. Means instant money. Billions, trillions will be able to move through Vietnam in any given moment. Why is this important? What currency do you think these settlements will be done in? The Vietnamese dong. You got to remember, what's supply and demand? Supply is of a certain product or asset. Demand is the demand for it. That's commerce. The demand for Vietnam's goods and products. But the access to their economy provides the demand for the Vietnamese dong. This reform of Vietnam upgrading their stock market, their trading system, it addresses a key concern that the FTSE Russell had for them. Remember, this is an open book test. Vietnam strategically, one by one, went through the requirements to pass this open book test, and they accomplished every last one of them. See, an emerging market upgrade can attract is estimated between $5 and $25 billion in capital into the Vietnamese economy. That's just in capital. When you think of the global reach, that can be multiplied 20, 30% or more. See, Vietnam's path to emerging market status hinges on the modernization of their trading mechanisms, which are the mechanisms by which it's access to their economy. This is why also it was very important for President Trump with his trade tariff deal that he negotiated with Vietnam. He made it loud and clear Vietnam has given the United States market access, full market access to their economy. There are different reforms, different open book information that was provided to Vietnam. I won't go into all of that, but they went by each one checking off the list. But then Vietnam decided they were going to try to overachieve. Vietnam just announced that they have fully modernized their seaports. Well, folks, what is the seaport? How does products, goods, and services move throughout the world on the water through trade? Through what? Ports. They just completely modernized their seaports to enhance the movement of products, goods, and services throughout the world. This further modernization of their seaports on the water, all of the ports, gives access for investors to the Vietnamese dong unlike ever before. Seaports handle 90% of Vietnam's import and export cargo, making them a backbone of Vietnam's economy. See, Vietnam's seaport modernization supports the Vietnamese Dong by enhancing trade efficiency. Well, what through all this trade, how will they settle these trades in the Vietnamese Dong? Tracks more foreign investment that will invest in Vietnam using what? The Vietnamese Dong. This is a driving force for their economy, all with which strengthen Vietnam's trade balance and foreign exchange reserves. This is all connected to the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese Dong is connected to all of this, I will say. Improved port infrastructure reduces logistics cost, making Vietnam's exports more competitive for countries around the world. Think of, folks, the countries around the world that do trade with Vietnam. While green and smart port initiatives attract global partners. Goldilocks is sharing that, however, the benefits of the Dong depend on effective management of infrastructure spending and avoiding excessive currency devaluation. This is where the Vietnamese government will manage the float. By addressing these challenges, seaport modernization. Yep, when you hear seaport, think of on the water. This can contribute to more stable and potential stronger value in the long term for the Vietnamese Dong. I'm going to say this. Short, medium, long-term exit strategies. Short, medium, long-term exit strategies. For those that have been following Goldilocks, Wiley, and the tribe for quite some time, you know what that means. Short, medium, long-term exit strategies, which are all done, can be done with your wealth advisors. Folks, you have a golden opportunity to exchange multiple times. Our last Saturday night call, I think a lot of people got upset for hearing that. And that's okay. Surprised. You would think that people would be excited to be able to exchange more than once. On Saturday night dialogues call, there is going to be some information that we're going to go over. There are numbers. Yes, numbers related to the Vietnamese Dong that we see. It's not the numbers that you might be thinking, but it is directly connected. Folks, if you have not begun to establish relationships with the actual bankers, I pray that God holds you in his powerful arms. Many people are going to need grace when it's time to exchange, because unfortunately they're not aware of what they're getting into, and that's based on not being properly prepared. Folks, if you just had an idea of what the power is in having these relationships and how it's going to benefit you, you would do it. But we all have our reasons for why we do what we do and why we don't. We all have a choice. When we are born, when God brings us into this lifetime, we are given free will and choice. You have free will and you have choice. I just hope you choose what's best for you and your family and get those relationships. Be well, beautiful folks. We love you.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.